Forget shining armor and noble quests. In Baldur's Gate 3, there's a darker path for paladins, the Oathbreaker. They've traded holy vows for forbidden power, wielding necrotic energy and commanding undead. They'll crush their enemies with devastating melee strikes, then raise fallen foes as their own twisted puppets. To unlock this subclass, you need to start off as a regular paladin. Then break your oath by helping Saza if you're a vengeance paladin.
The Absolute is gold from the sky, she is. The blessing in the storm and the storm itself.
Or kill the tieflings who captured Lae'zel if you've chosen the Oath of the Ancients or Devotion.
The thing's dangerous. Leave it for the goblins to kill.
Watch my 2 videos in the description to learn more.
Oh, a guest.
At level 1, paladins gain Divine Sense. This gives them advantage on attack rolls against Celestials, Fiends, and Undead. That means rolling 2 dice and using the higher value of the 2. Lay on Hands cures disease and poison. It can also heal 4 hit points, but its potency increases significantly as you level up. At level 2, it can heal 8 hit points. Paladins unlock Divine Smite at level 2. This special feature is one of the signature abilities of Paladins. It adds 2d8 radiant damage to weapon attacks, and a bonus 1d8 radiant damage against Fiends and Undead. The Entombed Warrior here will take an extra 1d8 radiant damage. It's also important to note that when you miss, this action will not consume a spell slot. Divine Smite can also be triggered as a reaction on weapon attacks and critical hits. The checkmark on the left is for activating it. Checking the Ask checkbox lets you decide whether to trigger it or not. Once a condition has been met, in this case, a successful weapon attack, you can decide whether you want to expend a spell slot to trigger Divine Smite. There are 3 other Smite spells, each one has a different effect. Thunderous Smite deals thunder damage, and can knock enemies prone. Searing Smite deals fire damage and sets your target on fire. It will then take 1d6 fire damage every turn for 10 turns, provided you maintain concentration. And Wrathful Smite deals psychic damage and can frighten the target. Frightened creatures can't move and have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. You will be required to select a fighting style for your character at level 2. Defense improves your armor class by 1. Dueling gives +2 damage to your melee weapon, provided it isn't a 2-handed or versatile weapon, and you're not holding a weapon in your offhand. This also applies if you're carrying a shield. We can see the +2 bonus damage from dueling here. Great weapon fighting lets you reroll your damage dice if you rolled 1 or 2 while using 2-handed melee weapons. Protection is my top pick. This allows you to impose disadvantage on enemy attack rolls against your allies, provided you are within 1.5 meters from them and have a shield equipped. Here, the enemy goblin's attack roll is 22. He only needed 15 to hit Astarion. Activating protection forced him to reroll at a disadvantage and miss the shot. Spiteful Suffering is an ability that's inherent to Oathbreakers. Delayed means the affected creature will only take damage at the start of its next turn, and not immediately. Using this isn't recommended if your immediate goal is to swiftly decrease the number of enemies. This deals 1d4 necrotic damage each turn for 3 turns. An attack rolls against the affected creature has advantage. It requires a Channel Oath charge to cast. Even at level 12, you'll only have one Channel Oath charge, although it does replenish on short rests. At level 3, Paladins gain Divine Health. This gives them immunity to disease. Oathbreakers gain 2 class actions at this level: Control Undead and Dreadful Aspect. These requires Channel Oath charge to cast. Control Undead lets you control an undead creature. It will follow you around and attack your enemies, but will only last until you take a long rest. Note that you will not be able to give it specific commands. It will move and attack enemies on its own.
Can't slow down.
Dreadful Aspect can frighten nearby enemies for 2 turns. Frightened creatures can't move, and have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls. Hellish Rebuke and Inflict Wounds are spells that are available to Oathbreakers at level 3. Hellish Rebuke is a reaction that deals 2d10 fire damage to enemies that hit you. This will require spell slots to cast, and can be upcasted to deal more damage. Inflict Wounds deals 3d10 necrotic damage. This isn't a ranged spell, so it requires you to be in close proximity to your target. At level 4, Paladins gain another charge of Lay on Hands, for a total of 4. Greater Healing will consume twice as many charges to cast, but it's also twice as powerful as Lesser Healing. They also get to select a feat. I suggest Ability Improvement, and ensure that your class's primary ability scores are even numbers to optimize modifier increases. With 17 points of strength, the ability modifier is 3. Increasing strength to 18 will increase the ability modifier by 1. The same concept also applies to the other attributes. Increasing them to an even number also increases the modifier. At level 5, Paladins gain an extra attack, allowing them to attack twice per round. Oathbreakers gain 2 new oath spells: Crown of Madness and Darkness. Both of these require concentration to maintain. Crown of Madness compels a target humanoid enemy to become frenzied for 3 turns. This makes them attack the closest creature to them, even their allies. Darkness creates a dark shroud that blinds creatures within it. Blinded creatures have disadvantage on their attack rolls, and the range of their ranged attack and spells is reduced to 3 meters. Furthermore, attacks against blinded creatures, such as Devout Cry, have advantage. The Paladin unlocks his level 2 spells at level 5. Most of these are non-combat spells, so I won't be covering them. Branding Smite can prevent enemies from turning invisible. This is very useful against shadows in Act 2. At level 6, Paladins gain Aura of Protection. When active, this aura grants +3 bonus saving throws to allies within 3 meters of the Paladin. At level 7, Oathbreakers gain Aura of Hate. This aura provides +3 bonus damage to melee attacks of the Oathbreaker and undeads and fiends within 3 meters. You get to select another feat at level 8. I suggest Warcaster for increased concentration saving throws. This feat increases your chance to maintain concentration when taking damage. In this fight, my Oathbreaker is concentrating on a spell called Elemental Weapon. He was able to maintain his concentration after getting hit 3 times. It also lets you cast Shocking Grasp as a reaction, when an enemy is moving out of your melee range. Setting this to manual lets you choose between the normal opportunity attack and Shocking Grasp. This spell deals 3d8 lightning damage. At level 9, Paladins unlock their level 3 spell slots. Warden of Vitality is an aura that lets you cast Restore Vitality as a bonus action. This spell restores 2d6 hit points and has a range of 9 meters. This aura lasts for 10 turns. Blinding Smite deals 3d8 radiant damage and can blind enemies for 10 turns. Crusader's Mantle adds 1d4 radiant damage to your allies' weapon attacks. This lasts for 10 turns and requires concentration to maintain. Elemental Weapon imbues your weapon with elemental energy. This adds 1d4 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. It lasts until you take a long rest, but requires concentration to maintain. My current weapon already deals fire damage. Casting this spell adds cold damage on top of this. 2 new oath spells become available to Oathbreakers at this level: Bestow Curse and Animate Dead. Bestow Curse lets you inflict a curse on an enemy. You can choose from the 6 ability scores, and make any checks or saving throws based on those scores to have disadvantage. Or you can curse the enemy to have disadvantage on their attack rolls, suffer additional necrotic damage from your attacks, or potentially skip their turn. Here's the additional necrotic damage from the curse. Animate Dead lets you raise a zombie or a skeleton from a corpse. Skeletons have ranged attacks that deal necrotic damage, while zombies are melee attackers that can turn defeated enemies into newborn zombies. After unlocking their level 3 spell slots, Paladins can now upcast their spells to their most powerful versions. By using higher level spell slots, Hellish Rebuke can inflict a maximum of 40 fire damage when cast at level 3, or 30 fire damage at level 2. Divine Smite can inflict a maximum of 24 radiant damage against undead when cast at level 2, or 32 radiant damage at level 3. This number is influenced by your character's build and equipment, but we can see here that Searing Smite will deal a maximum of 31 damage when cast at level 1, a maximum of 37 damage when cast at level 2, and a maximum of 43 damage at level 3. Wrathful Smite doesn't benefit from upcasting. Same with Thunderous Smite, so be sure to read the description carefully. Paladins get another Lay on Hands charge at level 10 for a total of 5, and a new aura called Aura of Courage becomes available. This grants allies within 3 meters and yourself immunity to the frightened condition. Note that multiple auras can be active at the same time. At level 11, the Paladin's Divine Smite becomes stronger. This now grants an additional 1d6 radiant damage to a Paladin's strikes, regardless of whether they are engaging undead foes or not. Paladins get to select their final feat at level 12. Savage Attacker and Sentinel are good choices. Savage Attacker lets you roll 2 damage dice and use the highest value. Sentinel allows you to use your reaction to attack an enemy within melee range that attacks your ally. It also gives you advantage on your opportunity attacks, and creatures hit with these attacks can no longer move for the rest of their turn. Note that if you find this subclass is not to your liking, you can always regain your oath by speaking to the Oathbreaker Knight at your camp, and paying 1,000 gold pieces. Thanks for watching.